Om Shanti, how are you? So, you must have heard about the famous story of the prostitute in Bible, where people brought a prostitute in front of Jesus, saying that she was caught red-handed while doing prostitution. So she has to be stoned to death as per the scripture. What do you say? So this is the question they asked to Jesus, and Jesus says, those who has never sinned before, let him throw the first stone. So this is such an inspiration, thinking that people it conveys even superficially two messages: that everybody is a sinner and nobody has the right to throw stone at anybody, which means to curse anybody or to judge anybody. So that is the actual thing they want to convey through this story. But one thing you need to understand is, why would anyone bother if a girl is committing prostitution, right? Prostitution means a wife having sex with somebody other than her husband. So, who would actually be bothered by that? Her husband, right? So, this actually implies the people who brought that girl were none but the husbands of the prostitute. I know it sounds confusing that how can so many be a husband of a single girl, right? So that points to the actual time it happened. People think that these are the actual incidents of the past during the time of Jesus Christ, but that's not the case with any religious scripture for that matter. What you see in Mahabharata is not the story of the real story of Sri Krishna, and what you see as the story of Muhammad is not his real story, because they are just religious founders, be it Jesus or Muhammad or Buddha. They are religious founders, they just give the preachings, that's it. There is nothing in their life to be taken as an example. So this actually happens now, right? Now you can see a girl having affair with multiple person at the same time. So is the case with guys. So that represents this time. Even in Mahabharat, a girl named Draupadi is shown to have 5 husbands. So that represents the time of the occurrence. Even in Ramayana, the main character, Ram's father, Dasharath, he has 1,000 wives. So that's humanly impossible, right? But anyway, even in the same character was depicted in Bible as Solomon having thousands of wives. So it all represent the time when that actually happens. It happens right now. So that's one point, and also there is another point to this story, that is Mahabharat, where Draupadi has 5 husbands at the same time. It actually means Draupadi has a strange character, very angry person. There are many positive sides and negative sides for her, just like any other human. So we would have heard when couples strike fight with each other, and when somebody wants to console them, they will say, you don't know anything about that person, you got to live with him to understand that person. So that's not possible, right? But anyway, if a girl with the character of Draupadi cannot have 5 husbands at the same time, but what if 5 different persons have their own wives that have similar character of Draupadi. That's the actual point they want to make, because she is married to the five brothers. They are brothers. That again uh, should prove that it did not really happen. So those five brothers are entirely different from each other, right? So how do they behave at the time she is kidnapped? So two brothers got very angry. They fight with the person who kidnapped their wife Draupadi. Then they arrest him and bring him to Yudhishthir, who is the eldest brother of the five. Now the eldest brother stays very cool, saying that it is not the fight between us and that person who kidnapped Draupadi was called Jaitrath. So the problem is between Draupadi and Jaitrath, and not between us and Jaitrath. So let her decide. So how do you think any husband will say like that, right? Especially when he has an upper hand. So that's the thing. The only way he could do it is because he is detached. He is not um in the conscious of being the husband of Draupadi. If he has that consciousness, he couldn't act justly. So is the case with this biblical incident where the prostitute was uh, brought in front of Jesus. So, what if all husbands have the wives like the prostitute? Prostitute is nothing but having affair with somebody else while they are in a married relationship. So that's happening now in every home, right? So obviously the husbands will call their wives a prostitute as soon as he gets this. But they may want to use their religion to punish them. So that's what's happening here. So they have brought their wives. It actually means they want to punish their wives for her adultery. Now Jesus says, whoever has never committed any sin, let them throw the first stone. So everybody left, and now only Jesus is there with the girl, and he says, I'm not going to punish you. Why should he punish somebody's wife? So that means now why should he bother about somebody is committing adultery unless it is his own wife? So now we have to understand that now he is speaking with his wife who has committed adultery. How is Jesus different from other men? In this story, according to the story, he is saying if you haven't committed sin, then you can throw stone. Which means only if you haven't committed any sin, you have the right to punish somebody. Since you yourself is a sinner, how can you punish somebody? Now, Jesus is not asking others, he is asking himself that whether he has a right to punish his wife. Is he so pure? Because in another instance, Jesus himself clarified that he is not a pure soul. When somebody addressed him as a pure priest, so he says, other than our heavenly Godfather, nobody can be pure. So how can you call me the pure priest? So now he is asking himself, am I eligible to call her a prostitute? Here it doesn't mean throwing stones actually. Punishing her by cursing her, everything is included in that. So he cannot even call her a prostitute because he himself is a sinner. So that's the actual point that's conveyed in this story. But no church is going to say these things because they want to hold Jesus as God. They see the story of Jesus Christ is nothing in before the story of Joseph. Uh, there are many, Jacob, Abraham. So their story, they conveyed lot more messages than the story of Jesus. So why people are not praying uh, Joseph or Isaac or Jacob or Abraham? Why only Jesus? So the notion of Bible is not to make people to worship anybody, including Jesus, but to take the message from this story and put it in your practical life. So that's the actual message. The actual message is not to make you to worship Jesus, but to make you become Jesus. That's the actual story. So I hope you would have got this message right. And in order to get there, if you have courage to become like Jesus, because that's what God does, He makes us like Jesus, like Yudhishthir, like Krishna. That is as mentioned in that story, but that's not the real story of Jesus or Krishna. So for that, say Jesus did not get angry because he is detached. That's the reason he is shown to be drawing something in the sand while he was saying to others that the pure one shall throw the stone first. So it actually means others consider her to be their wife, while Jesus stays away from that. Just like Yudhishthira in Mahabharata, the same story is repeated in a different angle. That's it. So you can get this knowledge directly from God through Brahma Kumaris, absolutely free of cost. You can also the direct teachings of God is called Murali. You can access it online through several websites and YouTube channels. We'll be giving the links of some of them in the description below. Please make use of it. So the essence of God's teaching is to consider ourselves to be souls that shines like a tiny star in between the eyebrows. It is the soul that sees through the eyes, speaks through the mouth, performs all acts through this body. So you need to consider yourselves to be souls, and we need to remember God as a point of light as much as possible, because that's how God looks like, and the place of residence of God is the golden red colored light world. This is called the soul world. So this is how God looks like. We souls before taking birth resided along with God here, and when we first took birth, this world was heaven in the beginning for the first 2500 years. Then it slowly becomes hell. This is just a 5000 year time cycle. Just this is called kalpa. So at the end of every kalpa, just 100 years before the destruction of this world, God himself enters an old man's body and gives this teaching, and he names that old man as Brahma, and that Brahma is portrayed as Adam in Bible and Quran. So because we become fully body conscious, that we get addicted to sensual pleasures and vices like lust, anger, greed, attachment and ego. That's how we converted this world, which was once heaven, into hell now in order to convert this back into heaven, we have to become soul conscious, because that's how we were in heaven. We considered each other as souls. So the body is just a dress for the soul. The reason in Bible Adam and Eve was shown naked doesn't mean they were literally naked. They were soul conscious. They were not body conscious. That's it. That's how they could stay out of these five vices. And now in the end, God teaches us exactly that, because that's the character required for us to take birth in heaven again. So all we need to do is to consider ourselves to be souls and to remember God as a point of light as much as possible. Simple. And also you got to listen to the direct teachings of God called Murli daily. Om Shanti. Thanks for watching. Make sure you share this video with people of all religions, because God is just one. The knowledge God gives belongs to everybody. It is their right, and it is our duty to share this message to everybody that comes in contact with us. Om Shanti. Thanks for watching.